It's your boy King Crowder back again with another edition of History You May Not Know and Things That Are Not Taught in Detail for Show. Today we will touch a controversial, informative, and preceding document that most of us have no idea how detailed it was. We will be touching the topic of urban renewal, known in the 60s some of our civil rights leaders as Negro Renewal. And I will go into the details onto why that is. Urban renewal was a program used to develop lower appreciating areas across the country, more specifically by reinvesting in them with private development. The one ironic part about urban renewal that makes you scratch your head immediately is a fact and statistic that was given by Britt Cobo. Black Americans make only 13% of the population in the 1960s, and they were comprised of 60% of the urban renewal housing programs that were displaced. Let me say this again. 13% of Black Americans were living in the United States around this time, yet 60% of their houses and businesses were targeted for urban renewal. It was a controversial topic because you must remember, urban renewal built highway systems that we see in America all over top of Black communities. All the highways that you see in metropolitan cities to this day. I live in Houston, you can see 45. They were built over Black businesses and Black districts and streets. Most people don't realize that these highway plans were built after the suburban areas were developed. So rather than building the most safe and honest way to get there, we must understand that these highway plans were simply built over top of these communities. These businesses were offered no grants, no programs to redevelop or remove. All we saw is that highway systems, you could see big centers, learning events were all built in the hub of most Black American communities. The reason why this subject was so touchy because it not only affected all Americans, people that were extremely poor were also displaced. The great James Baldwin in a documentary spoke about San Francisco. He mentioned that a part of the massive urban renewal program, over 6,000 families were displaced and almost 25,000 residents. There was no land grants. There was no places for them to go. It was just the government is going to build this highway, this investment center, and these other locations over these neighborhoods and put them there. Most people that were impacted by urban renewal were literally from certain demographics and certain class systems. The reason why it was so shocking is because we saw these things happen, rinse, wash, and repeat time after time again. Urban renewal had such an extreme effect on the people in this community is because three things happened. They wanted to economically renew the place, they wanted to socially renew the place, and they wanted to environmentally renew the place. Looking back at the history of it, we can see that urban renewal had many faults. Fault number one, they built highway systems that were too low for buses to go inside of. Did you know that? Did you know that they actually modified where buses, transit centers, no walkways, no highways could be built to ensure that property value remained high? Did you also know, I live in Houston, urban renewal affect this area pretty much because they wanted to put the airport far out. It is no reason why most cities, such as the size of this, do not have a metro train that goes directly to the airport. It was built to make sure that you must have a car to travel and fly at certain times. The same thing could be said about how we keep beaches, certain part of town, and other ways socially isolated. I'm not saying that the government's plan was to strictly do this internally, but all I'm saying is that these numbers highlight and show different things that were going on in this country. We understand that the lasting results did boost some parts of the economy, but to what extent? For you to take land by eminent domain and getting it for free? For you to slum clearance the land and put highways over the top of it? It is really a violent event when you think about it, but we must understand that this thing happened on for a 10-year span and must understand that there was no proper reimbursement for the families that this happened to. Urban renewal is a still current policy that we can see all around this city and this country. If you really want to challenge yourself, look at the highway systems and look at the former Black communities of every city you go to. It's an eye-opener to see how and why these things happen. It's your boy King Crowder, checking back out again, teaching you the good, the bad, and the ugly of urban renewal, and why the history that we don't talk about in detail is not discussed. Man, I just want to thank you for watching the channel. Hopefully you learned something about America and the things that we don't talk about or teach as much. I think these policies will teach and educate you why you see this country the way it is today. My job as a history guru, which I love, is to shed light on things that we don't discuss enough about. And I believe this subject should be discussed. Urban renewal, Negro renewal, changing this country in radical and different ways. You be the judge. All right, it's your boy King Crowder. Check it back out.